It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, how are you guys doing this evening? Hopefully you guys are doing well. So, don't kill the live stream numbers, okay? Because there's plenty, but I'm going to say this a few times today. These are available on the website now, okay? We got the cuffed and we got the non-cuffed. I know everybody's been asking. They're on there, okay? Check them out, but don't kill my live stream numbers. There's going to be plenty. You don't need to leave the stream. Come on. All right, but I appreciate it. I haven't announced it anywhere else, so I take that back. I did announce it on Instagram, but I have a very small following on there, so you guys in the stream are going to be fine. I haven't announced it on YouTube, like per se, you know, like a YouTube post, or I haven't announced it on Facebook or anything yet. So just keep that in mind. You guys have plenty of time. There's still plenty of them anyways. I ordered like 400 beanies, so they're not going to sell out, I don't think. I don't know. Well, who knows what you guys will do. So really appreciate you guys making it in here tonight. All right, I'm going to start this off. I try to do this every once in a while. It's been a while. You don't get a discount code, Adam. See, friends and family get nothing with me. Friends and family pay full price. In fact, friends and family, I'm gonna add on a little bit of extra money there for friends and family. So, you know, because that's the kind of friend that I am. So, you know, I'm gonna start this off. You know, I try to do this every once in a while. I haven't done it in a while, but my name is Chris. Okay, for the new people that coming in here right now, you may stumble across this, or you may have just seen my stream or my videos or something like that. Subscribe to the channel. I started making these videos as a training aid to my own employees, and it very quickly after the second video, I decided to make them public, and it turned into this machine. Okay, I make these. Hey, Connor, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. I really appreciate it. I try to make these videos to kind of share the mistakes that I make. I've sure made a lot of mistakes over my career, and I continue to make them every day, okay? The whole point of these live streams is simply just to kind of discuss the videos, consolidate the questions, and try to answer them in one place, okay? To try to save my sanity and give my family some time, because this has certainly grown to the size that it really has become a second job for me. And it's really easy for me to become obsessed with the comments. So I've tried to dedicate Monday nights to kind of really sit down and give some time and, you know, answer questions and that kind of stuff. So I really, really appreciate you guys making it here. Okay. Yeah, the beanies are one size fits all. So, and I have a big head, so I have a giant head, so this fits me pretty well. This is the cuffed version, obviously, and then, like I said, we have the non-cuffed version too. So, as usual, if you guys have questions in the chat, please put the questions in caps lock. I will also go through, I have a list of questions that I consolidated from emails and different things like that, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about them. What's really cool about doing these live streams is it gives me the ability to answer these questions and like I said, consolidate them, because I had several questions about certain topics, and we're going to answer them inside here, okay? And if I didn't already say this, please type your questions in caps lock, okay? It helps us to kind of field the questions so we can see them in a little bit better, okay? Let me see. Actually, Ike, the server wasn't the first to know because I announced it on Instagram the moment that I posted them. So, yeah, and then a few people in the live chat when I first came in here earlier got a little up and up, heads up there. You know, so, all right. Let me see. I'm doing good, Randy. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me see. Right on. Thank you very much for making it over here, Nick. It's awesome, bud. Says this first time on the stream. Justin Perry, thank you so very much for that super chat. I'm going to address this right now, just like I do every stream. Okay. The super chats, the Patreon subscribers, the YouTube channel members, I really, really do appreciate that. Terry, thank you so very much. I'll address that in just a second. The super chats and the channel support is awesome. It's not required. I'm going to continue to make these videos and do these live streams, guys, no matter what, okay? The easiest way to support the channel is simply just watch the video all the way through. Leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, whatever you see, okay? Finishing the video, watching the whole thing, that really does help the YouTube numbers. And it just really helps out the channel in general, okay? If you guys find something that I made in a video interesting, please share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues. Just growing the awareness for these videos. And also, by people watching my videos, I try to turn them on to my friends' videos and different things like that, okay? So if you watch till the end, you see I recommend other people's videos, that kind of stuff. So that's the easiest way to support. If you guys choose to do so, you can also become a Patreon member, a YouTube channel member. You can super chat, all that stuff, but you don't have to do that, okay? Also, I already said it, but if you guys are interested, you can go to my website. I have shirts. I just restocked all the hats. I'm going to have this new shirt designed soon. This is going to be called my flag shirt. I dig this one because we've got the American flag on the shoulder. This will be coming out soon, but this one won't be here for a couple weeks. And the same thing with the hoodie. The hoodie will be coming out in a couple weeks too. I see a bunch of super chats coming in. You guys are awesome. Okay, Justin, I said thank you. And then Terry, thank you so very much, man. You need a payment plan for the beanies? I'm sorry, bud. The beanies are $20. So, all right. What else we got in here? And that includes shipping too, unless you're in Canada. Sorry, guys, in Canada, I have to charge extra because they charge me a bunch of money to ship stuff over the border. Appreciate it there, Adam. You're awesome. Okay, we're going to get to the normal stuff here now that we covered that up. Or covered the beanie thing. I do want to announce, make sure that if you guys don't already follow my Instagram, please follow it. There's going to be an opportunity. I'm going to do it just on Instagram. There's going to be an opportunity to win a set of the wireless field piece large pipe clamps. The Job Link pipe clamps that I showed, but the big giant ones from 3/4 all the way up to 4 1/8. So for the heavy industrial and commercial guys, these will be awesome for you. I haven't announced anything yet. It's not going to be, you're not going to have to jump through a bunch of hoops and all that crap, okay? It's going to be a super easy giveaway. I am going to do it solely on Instagram, so just pay attention. I'll announce that soon, and we will be shipping those worldwide, permitting that it is legal for us to do so wherever you live, okay? And we're not going to play the game. If we find out that we can't do a giveaway in your country because there is some weird countries like that, then I'm sorry, and we'll just have to draw another winner. But we are going to make it open worldwide, and we'll ship the one set of the wireless Job Link large pipe clamps anywhere in the world, okay? So that'll be coming soon, but that will be only on Instagram. So make sure, if you guys don't already, check out and follow the Instagram, okay? And it'll come up soon. I'll make it public and everything. All right. I do want to cover one thing. So on the last live stream, somehow I got caught up in the chat and a bunch of people started talking about, I think someone had asked a question about alternative refrigerants, and then a bunch of people started talking about Blue On for some reason, and then it got real negative. And my understanding, as best as I can tell in talking to the moderators and my friends and people that were in the chat, was that Blue On was not even actually in the chat. And I think I got a little irritated at Blue On. I don't think I said anything bad, but I think I had said some stuff. But I apologize because they were not in the chat. So Blue On, I don't know if you guys watch this stuff, but if you are in here, I apologize. My understanding, you guys actually weren't in the chat, so it is what it is. I do have to be honest and open about that, okay? Keep in mind that when you guys are having conversations in the chat, and I know that's what the YouTube chats are about, people can always have like different conversations, and that's cool. I don't mind it. But it's really easy for me to get caught up in it because I look down and someone says Blue On, and then 10 seconds later, 50 chats go by and someone else says Blue On's here, and then it's like, wait, what's going on, you know? Partially my fault. I shouldn't jump on a bandwagon when someone said something about Blue On, but it is what it is, okay? Let's see. The other announcement I have is I'm currently working on, I'm going to be doing a walk-in cooler installation coming up Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, I'm going to be changing out walk-in cooler equipment at a very old restaurant that had an operating R12 condensing unit, still one of my only operating R12 units. Just recently, the unit had a refrigerant leak and we had to convert it over to 409A. So we talked the customer into replacing all the equipment. So we're going to be doing a condensing unit and an evaporator coil and a line set, converting it to 448A, a total system retrofit. I'm going to take this opportunity for my very first time to go ahead and try out the Zoom Lock Max, the press connect fittings from Sporlan. They've been asking me to try them out for a long time, and I just never really found the opportunity, but I think this is going to be the perfect time to go ahead and give it a shot and see how it works and everything. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be making a video on it, showing it and all that good stuff, okay? Pretty interesting. I've been doing a lot of research and stuff, and so this should be a pretty cool one. And I usually don't do installation videos, so this one will be a little different too, because I usually don't show those. It's a little bit harder for me to show installation videos. And in fact, this is going to cover a question that I had right now. The reason why I don't show installation videos for the most part is because I usually have all my employees with me. I get a lot of questions. Why don't I show my employees in my videos? Well, it's just a weird conflict of interest. You know, showing employees in the videos are monetized. Yeah, you don't want to have to worry about that kind of stuff. So I always think of the whole big picture thing, right? And worst case scenario. So it's just best for me not to show my employees, just so that way there's no weird thing like 6 months, 2 years down the line, someone says, hey, you've got a video up and I don't want to be in that anymore. So it's just easier for me to avoid all those headaches and not show employees in videos. So that's the main reason why, okay? Plus it's for their privacy and stuff and all that good jazz, okay? All right, let me see what else we got going on in here. I know I'm missing a lot of stuff. Why was that refrigerant even used? Was there nothing better? Let's see. I don't know what that was. Why was what refrigerant used? I don't know what you mean by that. Do I have any live job site? Oh, live streams? No, not at this time. The live streams on the job sites are a little bit difficult. So, let me see what I'm missing in here. Stop making Chris's Insta post go into his Discord. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got. How do you get the merch to ship to your house? Jake, I don't know, but how often is it that I have issues with things that other trades do? You know, it's common that when you're on job sites, especially on new construction where you run into issues with other trades and stuff, for the most part in the restaurants, I don't really have issues where I have to get other trades involved too much. As far as other trades causing issues, I rarely ever have that issue. But I mean, you know, every once in a while I'll do a walk-in cooler replacement with some Heatcraft equipment, and they require a dedicated circuit for the evaporator coil. So I'm going to have to get an electrician involved to come and do that. Every once in a blue moon, if I'm doing multiple package unit replacements on the roof and there's just a lot of work to be done, I might call in a plumber to go ahead and do all the gas pipe. For the most part, if it's 1 or 2 units, I usually just do the gas pipe by myself. But, you know, just depending on the size of the job, you know, you might want to get mechanical trades involved to come in and do gas pipe or things like that. Or even if you have to have gas pipe moved or different stuff like that. It's pretty often that I have to have roofers come out after I'm done doing equipment replacements and stuff like that, just to shore up any, you know, holes or anything like that I've made on the roof. But for the most part, you know, don't really have to get other trades involved. I kind of handle most of it on my own. you know, unless like breakers need to be replaced and stuff like that. So, all right, I'm going to get to, let me see what we got in here. So I want to go ahead and cover this right off the bat because I know that this is the time when we're going to be running into these issues a lot more. And I'm going to go ahead and lump in a couple questions together in this one. So one of the questions that I had this week is what's the purpose of a liquid line receiver? Okay. So a liquid line receiver in a refrigeration system that has an expansion valve is simply a storage device. Okay. An expansion valve is going to vary the refrigerant flow into the evaporator coil depending on the load of the evaporator coil. Okay. So it's going to open and close the valve depending on the load or the heat gain, or the amount of heat the evaporator is absorbing from the space. Okay, so when that happens, the expansion valve might open up and push more refrigerant into the evaporator coil, right? And then at other times when there's a very low load on the box, the evaporator coil might not need as much refrigerant. So the expansion valve is going to slow down the flow, okay? Or it's going to reduce the flow, and you're going to have extra refrigerant in the system because our system, you know, it has a set amount of refrigerant in it. Now, when that happens, the receiver, okay, the refrigerant will start to back up into the receiver, even though the system's still flowing, okay? The refrigerant's still flowing through the system, but it just doesn't need all the refrigerant, okay? Because the expansion valve might open and close, all right? I have a cutaway of an expansion valve right here, okay? And the expansion valve is going to open and close depending on the load, and the refrigerant's it's gonna need more refrigerant or less refrigerant. So when it needs less refrigerant, it's gonna store the refrigerant in the liquid line receiver, okay? And then when it needs more, it's gonna take it out of the liquid line receiver, all right? But there's some other times that the receiver becomes very important, especially if you have a refrigeration system. I see these super chats coming in. Thank you guys very much. Yeah, Tan, thank you so very much for that super chat. And John, thank you so much. Okay, that's awesome, guys. You guys are great. So another time that the receiver will be a very important device within a refrigeration system is when the box temperature satisfies if you have a pump down system. Okay, so a pump down system, what it's going to do is you're typically going to have a liquid line solenoid valve, okay, and it's going to have a coil on the top, and it's going to shut off the refrigerant flow through the liquid line. Usually this is before the expansion valve, okay, something like that, or it might be up on the roof. It just depends, but it's going to be on the liquid line typically, okay? And this is going to shut off the flow of refrigerant. When it does that, the system's going to pump down. And what it means by pump down is that the refrigerant is going to stop at this valve and it's not going to go any further. And it's going to back up in the receiver and the condenser. Okay, so the receiver has to be sized accordingly so that way it can have enough storage capacity for the entire system charge to be backed up within the receiver and the condenser. Okay, now with the receiver, with the liquid line solenoid valve and with the expansion valve, there's some other functions of that receiver. Now, remember I told you that it's going to be a storage device, okay? On a normally operating system, you're just going to have an expansion valve in there, and the expansion valve is going to do whatever it needs to do, okay? But if you have a system that might be installed in a low ambient condition, okay, you're going to have a low ambient control on the system. You can do that with a couple different methods. One of the more common ways is to use fan cycling. What that's going to do is shut off the condenser fan motor, drive the head pressure up, turn it back on, drive the head pressure down. It's kind of a vicious, violent cycle with a fan cycle control, especially if you have a single condenser fan motor, okay? I'm not a fan of fan cycling because if you have a fan cycle system, just watch it. Next time the fan shuts off, watch what your sight glass does, and then watch what happens right when the fan turns back on. Watch your sight glass. It's going to fill up and drain, fill up and drain, fill up and drain, and it's just really violent in the system. One of the more common ways that we will control the system's head pressure is by a head pressure control valve, okay? It's a low ambient control, and what it does, let me grab one. What the head pressure control valve is going to do, this is a cutaway of a head pressure control valve, okay? This is a brand new one that hasn't been cut yet, all right? This is going to be installed in the system on the high side between the condenser, the receiver, and the discharge line. There's actually going to be a T in the system. And this is actually going to back up the refrigerant into the condenser, okay? And it's going to simulate you blocking off the condenser with a piece of cardboard. That's the easiest way to explain what a head pressure control valve is going to do, okay? There's a little bit more science into it, but essentially it's like blocking off the condenser, but not all the way. only a little bit to drive up the head pressure, right? And it's just going to slowly maintain the head pressure at whatever the bypass pressure, usually plus or minus 5 to 10%. This particular head pressure control valve's bypass pressure is 210 psi, and it's usually stamped on the side of the valve with a sticker. Let's see if I can show you guys that. There you go. This is an LAC valve by Sporlan. It's an LAC 4210. So what that means is approximately at 210 psi, this is going to start to flood the condenser and shut off the flow of refrigerant coming out of the condenser. It's going to slow it down essentially, okay? So the reason why we do that is because we're trying to maintain a certain pressure differential across our expansion valve, okay? So let's think about it this way. This is the easiest way to explain this. And for those that watch these live streams, you've probably heard this a million times, but you know what? It's okay because a lot of people don't understand the head pressure control valve. So this expansion valve needs refrigerant flowing at a certain velocity for it to be able to meter properly, okay? That's the easiest way. There's a little more science to it. If it's not flowing at the right flow rate or velocity, whatever you want to call it, through the system, then this can't properly control the superheat, okay? We control that by maintaining a pressure differential. What we mean is you need to have a set pressure on the high side, and you need to have a difference between the high and the low, or the refrigerant pressure coming out of this expansion valve, the evaporator suction pressure, okay? If you don't have that, there's a problem. So we put this head pressure control valve on the system, okay? The LAC valve, or there's a couple different other ones. There's OROA valves, and then there's holdback valves, a couple different ones. But we put this on there, and this is going to maintain the head pressure in the system. Now, one of the tricky things about having a head pressure control valve is this is the trickiest thing, and this is this time of year we're getting a lot of these service calls where they call you and they say, hey, my walk-in cooler doesn't work in the morning, but in the afternoon it works fine. Okay, what's happening is the system might be low on refrigerant. And if it's low on refrigerant, this head pressure control valve right here is going to bypass, and there's not going to be enough refrigerant stored in the receiver. And then what's going to happen is the liquid level is going to drop below the dip tube, right? So it's just going to be vapor getting fed down to the expansion valve. This expansion valve, I don't care if you have an air conditioner, refrigerator, any of those, you need 100% liquid going to this expansion valve for it to work right, okay? Now, if you don't have 100% liquid going to that expansion valve, it's going to starve the coil. You're going to have issues, all right? So we need to properly charge the head pressure control valve operated systems, okay? The best way to do that if you're dealing with a tube and fin coil, meaning a copper tube and just normal fins on the condenser coil, is to look up a tech bulletin by Sporlan 90-30-1. If all you need to do is just Google Sporlan 90-30-1, and it's going to explain how to properly calculate the flooded charge for a system that has a head pressure control valve, okay? Essentially, what it's going to do is you're going to calculate the amount of storage capacity that is inside your condenser, and it's not really going to calculate inside your receiver, but it's going to calculate the amount of storage capacity and the extra refrigerant you need in the condenser to properly flood the condenser and, you know, for the valve to work properly. Now, the 90-30-1 method will not work on a microchannel condenser coil, okay? Now, I've also said many times in my videos, it's difficult sometimes. There's some weird circumstances where calculating the flooded charge out in the field isn't necessarily very convenient, okay? So there's a couple different things. You need to have basic refrigeration knowledge. You need to understand how systems operate, okay? But with that being said, you can add the maximum amount of refrigerant that the system could possibly need, okay? That's one method. The other method is just simply call the manufacturer of the equipment. Cold Zone and Russell are both very good at publishing the data of how much refrigerant their systems take to properly flood the condenser. So if you're ever working on a Cold Zone or a Russell condensing unit, just call Russell and ask them, say, hey, I'm working on this model number. Can you tell me how much refrigerant I need to add for the flooded charge? And they'll tell you. It's really easy. Now, if you can't get a hold of the manufacturer, okay, like I said, you can go ahead and add the maximum amount of refrigerant. Now, keep in mind, if you add the maximum amount of refrigerant that that system can possibly take, you're probably going to overcharge it a little bit, as I mean, you're going to put too much refrigerant in the system, but it's not necessarily overcharged as it's going to shut off on head pressure. It's just, it's got more refrigerant than it really needs, okay? But again, sometimes that might be more convenient and cost effective to do it that way. There's some field methods to calculate the maximum amount of refrigerant in the system. system. One of the most common ways, it's a very old school method, I've showed it, I've talked about it many times, is to simply fill the liquid line receiver and condenser up with liquid refrigerant until the receiver is 3/4 of the way, or 80% or 75%, right in there. Just basically say 3/4 of the way full when it's pumped down. Okay, what that means is when this is pumped down, when the refrigerant can't leave the receiver anymore, and you check the liquid level, it's at the 3/4 mark, you know that you can't put any more refrigerant in that system, okay? But you need to be very careful, because checking the liquid level in a pump down receiver is kind of tricky, okay? I've given some methods on how to do that. Again, the best way, lean on Sporlan 90-30-1 method, talk to the manufacturer. If you're in the field, you can also, the easiest way is go to the system on the coldest day of the year and clear the sight glass. That's the easiest way. On the coldest day of the year, clear the sight glass, and you know that you won't need any more refrigerant, okay? But how often is it that we get to go out to a system on the coldest day of the year? It's not very often. It's kind of tricky, okay? So in that situation, what I would do is I would go ahead and do a pump down on the system, okay? I would front seat the liquid line service valve, or the king valve coming out of the liquid line. I would wait for the system to shut off on low pressure. And then what I would do is take a heat producing device that does not exceed the soft plug temperature. This receiver has a soft plug, and right in the top, it's stamped 430 degrees. That means that at 430 degrees, it's actually a solder joint, is going to blow out and vent the refrigerant charge. So you got to make sure that you know where the soft plug is and that you don't overheat this receiver past the blowout temperature, okay? So I'm going to take a heat producing device. I'm not going to tell you which one, but you're going to very carefully make sure that it doesn't exceed that soft plug temperature, or the pressure, the maximum temperature of the receiver. And you're going to slowly heat up the receiver while it's pumped down. And then what you do is you take your fingers and you run it up here, and all of a sudden it's going to get really hot. And that's going to be the liquid level. The liquid's going to be right there, and the vapor is the point at which it gets hot. So that's how you can feel where the liquid level is. Now, I've shown in my videos where I take a thermal imaging camera. You can do it with a thermal imaging camera too. But the easiest way is just simply take a heat-producing device that doesn't exceed the soft plug or the blowout temperature of the receiver, slowly heat it up, run your fingers up, and feel the heat point, okay, where it gets really hot. And then if it's not at 3/4, then simply add a little more refrigerant until you get up to the 3/4 mark. But understand something. If we go and we calculate the flooded charge, let's say on that same system that we filled up the receiver to 3/4 of the way, if we calculate the flooded charge, the actual amount of refrigerant it might need to properly flood that condenser might only be half a receiver. So depending on the size of the receiver, going between half and 3/4, you might add 20, 30, or even hundreds of pounds of refrigerant. So you got to be smart about what you're doing, okay? I'm dealing with small systems, maximum charge 14 pounds. If I have to add an extra 4 pounds to the system, it's not a big deal, okay? But when you get into the big stuff, you really need to start thinking about, okay, I need to properly calculate this. Now, the next thing I can tell you is if you ever do get a hold of the manufacturer and find out the proper flooded charge, that's the easiest way, right? Pump the system down and mark the liquid level with a paint marker and say factory charge, half a receiver. So then from that point forward, everybody knows that the correct amount of refrigerant to properly flood that condenser is here, okay? Now, another thing to understand too, again, I kind of preface this by talking about understanding the basic refrigeration cycle. Okay, just because the manufacturer says that condensing unit can hold 14 pounds of refrigerant doesn't necessarily mean that's the full charge, okay? You need to be able to evaluate things. What happens if the maximum charge of the system is 14 pounds, but the liquid line is 200 feet long and they ran an oversized liquid line? So theoretically, the system might take more refrigerant than that. Okay, so you have to be able to evaluate that stuff and know what you're doing. Okay, you can't it's just not cookie cutter in this business. Okay, now head pressure control valves, because I know there's going to be a lot of comments, and I know I haven't been paying attention to the chat right now. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about these head pressure control valves, but you will see these on refrigeration systems. You will see these on ice machine systems. You will see these on data room air conditioners. You will see these on built-up air conditioners. For the most part, you will not see a head pressure control valve on a residential air conditioning system unless it's like a big old fancy one. For the most part, you're not going to see a liquid line receiver on a residential air conditioner, but I will tell you that residential air conditioning systems condensers are typically sized so that way they can store the extra needed refrigerant for when the expansion valves open and close. Okay, so those are a little bit more engineered, special and stuff. All right, I'm going to set this down. And now that I went off on a big old tangent about that, I'll pay attention to the chat. Okay, for those that are just coming in here too right now, I'm going to go ahead and catch up on the chat real quick while it's been going for a while. Alex, thank you so very much for that super chat if I didn't already address it. Oh, wow. Natra, thank you so very much for that super chat. Holy moly, bud. That's amazing. Thank you. Wow. Buy a Nipix Cobra, a.k.a. Hamra. I'll definitely look into that. Feel free to send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Thank you so very much. That is an amazing super chat. For those that are just coming in, you see me wearing this new beanie. The beanies are available on my website, hvacrvideos.com. I have the cuffed and the non-cuffed version, okay? All right, let me see what we got going on in here. Holy moly. That is an amazing super chat. Thank you so very much. All right, what was the issue on the loud-sounding walk-in freezer on the hybrid freezer video? Honestly, I never dug into that anymore. That's one of those things where it was a late night, and then even when I went back, I don't think it was making the loud noise or something, so I didn't dig into that anymore. So that may be a to be determined in the future video. All right, do I work on RTUs with energy recovery systems? HVACR novice, it has been a long time since I've seen any energy recovery system. So there's a couple different methods of energy recovery that I know of. So old school energy recovery units, we might have called them heat harvesters, and what they would do is they would recover, or they would preheat the water before it went to the water heater. So basically you'd have the domestic water coming into the restaurant. They would install these heat harvesters essentially on the outside, and they would grab the discharge line coming out of the compressor. They would repipe it out to the heat harvester, and they would have these on every air conditioner, and they would try to grab the heat out of the condenser, essentially subcooling it kind of in a way, and basically trying to conserve energy. Now, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of energy recovery stuff, and then a lot of it got bypassed, okay? We don't see it very much anymore because our systems, you can't really add things onto it like that, right? In the 80s, especially the 80s, the late 80s, they were kind of coming out with a lot of energy management systems, and then those heat harvesters for the water and stuff like that. But see, you couldn't just throw something like that on an air conditioner these days because they are specifically engineered, the air conditioning systems. And if you change things, it messes everything up. So you need to be really careful. On that old equipment from the 80s, it was, 8 to 10 SEER, maybe even 6 SEER. So they had a lot of room for fudging around and stuff in there. As far as energy recovery on the systems too, there was an interesting question that someone had brought up about something we were talking about on the Overtime show. If you guys don't know, I'm involved with the HVAC Overtime channel. We do live streams on Friday evenings, usually around 6:05 p.m. Pacific time. And it's myself. Feel free to post HVACR Overtime link in the chat, guys. But we usually cover all kinds of cool topics and stuff. It's kind of like a live stream, but more of a hangout where we all talk about things. All right. So there's some other energy recovery things you can, there's like ERVs, heat recovery wheels and different things like that try to pull humidity out of the air and different things like that, or try to recycle heat before it discharges it out. There's all kinds of different methods. I really don't work with them very often, no. So, all right, let me get down to here. How often do I calibrate my equipment? S-man gauges, meters, just HVAC. So typically I will check and verify calibration. For the most part, I don't have any problems with my job link probes. I will always compare them to a known source. As far as I know, there's not really any calibration of the job link probes themselves, but I will always compare them to a known source. I'll usually find some calibrated thermometers, verify that they're good, accurate, and then compare the other probes and different things to them. As far as the S-man gauges, there's really not much calibration that I've ever had to do, but I am always comparing my refrigerant gauges and any tools to other known sources that I know are working just to verify. All right, let's see what else we got in here. A heat wheel. Yeah, heat wheel is one of them, an ERV. All right, so I did that. I answered that question. How many do I install mini systems with semi-hermetic compressors? I can tell you that the last time I installed a semi-hermetic condensing unit was probably 18, 19 years ago. It's been a long time. I can picture it in my head. The restaurant doesn't exist anymore. It was a Krabby Bob's was the name of it. It was like a seafood chain that didn't last very long. We were changing a walk-in condensing unit, I think, and we installed a semi-hermetic condensing unit on the roof. That was the last time I installed something semi-hermetic. I don't work on the big stuff. Mostly everything we install these days is scrolls. All right, let me see what else we got in here. Where do you order a beanie? Go to hvacrvideos.com. How's it going? How was my day? My day was all right. So today, I had a meeting. I've got a job coming up. It's not really something I can film, I don't think, because of the location, but I've got a job coming up where I have to lift, or I have someone else lifting a 15-ton air handler, for a 15-ton split system. We're replacing the entire air handler. It's a fan coil, so it's a heat pump system. So we're replacing the entire fan coil unit. I think the fan coil itself weighs just under 800 pounds, a little right in the 750 range or something like that. So I got a construction company involved. So I had to do a site walk with the construction company today, so that way we can coordinate everything. Conveniently, the restaurant is shut down because of the virus crap. So we're going to be able to do it during the day. It doesn't have to be night work. So yeah, I guess there's a silver lining there. Do I do any Cascade refrigerant? No, I don't. Okay, all right. Did I go to the University of California, Riverside? No, I went to trade school. I went to Mount San Antonio Community College, Mount SAC in Walnut, California. I went through the HVAC program. I think I mentioned this recently, but I am 2 classes shy of getting a certificate in air conditioning and refrigeration. I think I need to take a welding class and a technical math class. So I need to go get that done one of these days, but I don't have any other degrees. I tried going to college after high school, but that wasn't for me. I'm more of a knuckle buster, like to fix things. I'm not a smart, refined, sophisticated book person. How does evaporator size affect the refrigerant charge needed? Well, I mean, the entire system. And you know what? I'm going to cover that right now because I had a question about this. So let me cover this question that I have on my list. Let me find it. Kenny had asked me about walk-in cooler sizing and how to properly size equipment. And I'll kind of tie your question into that a little bit. So Kenny's question was, you know, he was kind of curious about when he's sizing an evaporator coil and a condensing unit. He didn't know, like, hey, should he oversize the condensing unit? Should he under or oversize the evaporator? What's the best bet? Okay, so this is a really easy one. Internet Pirate, thank you so very much for that super chat. Don't let me forget. I will answer that, okay? And I do have a NATE certification, and I will cover that, okay? So I'm going to leave your question up there right now. All right, so as far as sizing walk-in cooler, let's just basic walk-in cooler. Okay, first off, you have to understand that every decision you make with sizing a walk-in cooler is going to have a ramification of some sort, okay? So it was very common for us to oversize condensing units in the past. And the reason why we oversize condensing units, at least the reason why I used to oversize condensing units, was because whenever I would install them, they wouldn't operate properly in high heat, and or they wouldn't have big enough receivers on them to store the refrigerant. Now, keep in mind, we're dealing with small refrigeration systems, okay? When you're dealing with big, heavy industrial and stuff like that, you can hand pick all the different components you want in your system. But I'm buying a pre-made condensing unit, okay? So in the late 90s to mid 2000s, it was very common that everything was kind of sized for R22 and kind of tailing out on R12, okay? R12 was kind of in the past, but they were still sizing condensing units for R22. Well, we had new refrigerants out, 404 and different things like that. So what they would do is they would take a 404 compressor with polyester oil, they would make sure that the condenser was properly sized, and then oftentimes they just throw a receiver on there, and there wouldn't be enough storage capacity within that to properly charge the system. So what we would run into is you wouldn't be able to pump the system down at the liquid line receiver and different things like that. So we started oversizing our condensing units. Now, that's when I started to realize the ramifications of oversizing a condensing unit, okay? So when you're going through HVAC school, right, or when you're reading a book, Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians by Dick Wurz, I highly suggest that book. If you guys haven't already, check it out, okay? There's a link in the show notes of this video. All right, so when you are working on a system, you learn about evaporator TD, okay? And you learn about how to understand before you put your gauges on there what your pressure should be, okay? I can tell you that on a walk-in cooler, right? I can tell you right now before I go up to it, depending on how it's sized, I can tell you exactly what the refrigerant pressure should be. And it's really easy. Okay. There's some basic formulas. You take your box temperature, right? The space temperature minus the evaporator TD, and you convert that via a pressure temperature chart like I have right over here. Okay. And you can find out what pressure the system should be. So if I have a 40-degree space temperature inside my walk-in cooler, and my evaporator was designed with a 10-degree evaporator TD, then it's safe to say that my suction saturation temperature should be about 30 degrees. It's a really simple mathematical calculation. If I know my suction saturation temperature should be about 30 degrees, I can convert that to a pressure, and I could tell you that at 40 degrees, my suction pressure in my evaporator should be approximately this. Okay, same thing on the roof. If I know that my condenser was designed with a 30-degree TD, condensing temp over ambient, then I could say it's 100 degrees outside. My condensing temperature, my suction or my liquid saturation temperature inside my condenser should be about 130 degrees. I can convert that and tell you what my pressure should be. Now, let's get in here and change this condensing unit. And you know what? Because I'm going in there and it's an older one, I'm going to put a bigger condensing unit on it because it'll be okay, right? What I just did was I just changed the TD of the system. Okay. Once you change the TD or once you change the design spec, then everything is kind of skewed. Now you can still make it work to a certain extent. Okay. But if you do not properly size an evaporator and you do not properly size a condenser, your evaporator TD is going to be changed, and that is going to skew some things. Okay. It's always best to lean on someone to design your equipment for you, especially if you have critical situations. Like for instance, I did a service call, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, where I got called out to a bakery. It was a brand new place that was just built. They made wedding cakes at it. And they had a general contractor install all the equipment. He had a guy. Oh yeah, the general contractor called me out. He's like, I have a guy. He did all the work. He's a reefer guy. He knows what he's doing. It was convenient, though, that the reefer guy, right, his guy was out of town when I had to go troubleshoot their problem. And what had happened was he didn't size his equipment right. They didn't have it properly calculated to maintain the proper humidity levels inside that box. Okay, your evaporator TD is going to change the humidity levels inside the box. Let's say you have a produce walk-in. You don't want to dry out the produce because then it's going to go bad. The same thing with the bakery. The problem with the bakery was they were drying out the cakes. Okay, so we had to go in there and basically tell them, hey, you designed all this equipment wrong. Let's go ahead and let me redesign it. You can change the equipment. And he's like, oh, no. You know, I'll put a humidifier. It was all kinds of weird crap. And I said, all right, cool. Here's the bill. You go ahead and pay my stuff. You do your thing. I don't even know whatever happened with that. Okay. So you have to make sure that your equipment is sized properly. So nowadays we have all kinds of energy requirements on our walk-ins and stuff like that. Okay. So what I will use is a calculator software. Okay. I'll use a load calculation software. Russell Refrigeration makes one, or Heat Transfer Products Group, HTPG, I think is their name. But it's Russell Refrigeration. Okay. You can use their load calculation software called RustBox. You can go to their website and find it. Download it. You can input some things. And the cool thing, you can kind of cheat a little bit, and you can use other manufacturers' softwares to kind of size your equipment too. So you can do that. But with that being said, you want to match your equipment as close as possible. Okay. So if I have a condensing unit that puts out, 80,000 BTUs at 100-degree ambient, right? That's another thing you have to understand too, is you need to size that condenser for the proper ambient temperatures. Okay. So, whatever that is, you want to make sure that your evaporator can deliver the same capacity, okay, at the box temperature that you need. So try to get those numbers absolutely as close as possible, and understand that if you change things, like in some situations, you might have to oversize your evaporator, but you definitely don't want to undersize your evaporator unless you're doing some weird engineering crap, okay? So there really is a lot that goes into sizing walk-in cooler equipment, reach-in cooler equipment, and different things like that. But you want to try to get the BTU, the delivered capacities, as close as possible. Okay. So try not to go oversize on your condensed unit, but there's some situations where I'll tell you, even to this day, I might go install a new walk-in condenser out in the desert where it gets to 120, 125 degrees, and I'm going to be oversizing that condensing unit. Yes, my evaporator TD is going to suffer a little bit, but that's just how it's going to be. Okay. So I know I went off on a major tangent there. Hopefully I kind of answered your question. Internet Pirate, you had asked me, do I recommend NATE certification and what do I need to get it? Okay, first, Let's cover this. I am a fan of any certification out there that you can possibly get, okay? Now, each certification out there has a different issue, okay? You become NATE certified, you become married to the fact that you're going to have to pay a subscription fee every 2 or 3 years, and you're going to have to keep going to school to maintain that certification. You get an ESCO certification, something similar. You get an RSCS certification, something similar, okay? But any certification is better than no certification. I choose to have a NATE certification. I have a couple different ones. I have light commercial refrigeration. I have heat pump installation and service. And I don't know if I have gas heat or not. I don't know. But I choose to do that. And the reason why I choose to do it and why I think any certification is better than none is because to maintain all of those industry certifications, you have to continue your education. And what I mean by that is you have to show and prove to them that you're still going to school. Okay, or you're still taking classes, training classes. So whenever you take a training class in the industry, whenever you go to them, you say, hey, do you give NATE certification credits? And they say, yeah, give me your NATE ID number. And then they send some stuff to NATE, and then NATE says, hey, you took this class. Here's, 10 of your credits that are needed for whatever, right? So it's very important. Any certification, in my opinion, is better than none. Okay, now, but you have to understand that NATE is a business. NATE is out there to make money, okay? Yes, they try to maintain certifications, but they're a business, okay? They're there to make money. So understand there's a give and take there. But it's just, I don't mind paying the fee every couple years. Now, ironically, I keep saying this, I haven't looked into it yet, but my NATE certification is actually going to expire because I don't have all the needed credits. And I believe it expires here in actually any time now. I probably need to look it up. I think it's in November sometime, but I don't have all the needed credits. I didn't get them this year because of the whole COVID thing. I haven't been taking training classes. So, I don't know. I might have to redo my whole NATE certification or something like that. Maybe they'll give me something. Yeah, I got a little bit of the Coke nose. Not too bad though. The hot tea is helping me. Man, I don't know about you guys, but the COVID weight is catching up with me. I know there's a lot of stuff that is passing by in the chat. Hey, do me a favor, guys. Smash the like button. I currently see 180 likes and 443 people watching right now. So please, please, please smash that like button. Let's get it up to the 400 range. I tell you what, you guys get the likes up to the 400 range. Whatever you guys got to do, and I'll give away a beanie on the show right now to the chat. So get that like count all the way up to 400 or more, and I will give away a beanie on the stream. Do whatever you guys got to do to get that up, okay? All right, let's see what else. CEFSA is awesome as well. Yes, CEFSA is another one too. CEFSA, I have to say, they're pretty intense. Just like the RSCS CM exam, if you get the CM exam, you know your crap. I failed the RSCS CM exam 2 times, but to give it credit, I never studied once. Not trying to flex or brag, but NATE is designed for technicians that have been in the industry for so many years to be able to pass the test without even trying, okay? It's a great thing, and it continues your education, but the RSCS CM exam is no joke. I've never studied for the NATE test, but the RSCS CM one, it got my ass handed to me 2 times. So I would love to get CEFSA, but it's a quite expensive certification, but I mean, you really do know your stuff. So, all right, let's see what else we got in here. Let me see. All right. Let me get to my list of things to talk about here. I already talked about walk-in cooler sizing. Okay. Ooh, this is a great question. And I will address the questions I see in the chat here in a minute. Remember, smash that like button. Get the like count up. I think I see 280 something or other right now. So keep smashing it. Get it above 400 and I'll give away a beanie. All right. So the question that I have on my list right here was Jimmy had asked a question, and this is a really good one. So Jimmy asked me how I stay awake when I'm driving. So he says that he regularly gets sleepy and wants to nod off when he's driving down the road. Okay. So first and foremost, I am not the poster child for being healthy or doing things proper. I make a lot of mistakes. I don't have a good diet. But the best thing I can tell you right now is change your diet, okay? First off, stop drinking soda. Soda is the number one thing. I cut soda out many years ago. Soda is one of the worst things you can drink. Stop drinking energy drinks, Red Bulls, and different things like that, okay? Those do not help you because they just allow you to crash. They don't help you. It just leads to diabetes and all things like that, okay? So cut that stuff out. Now, the reason why I say is I'm not a poster child is because I drink coffee every morning. Coffee is a stimulant too. You really shouldn't be drinking coffee, but it is what it is. There's some things I can't give up, okay? So I drink, baby, 2 cups of coffee every morning, and that gets me through the day. But I cut out the energy drinks, cut out all that stuff. That's the first thing. Start eating better. Freaking mustache drives me nuts. Start eating better, and that's going to help you to maintain your energy, okay? Going through the day in this trade can be difficult, long hours, high heat, really cold, that kind of stuff, okay? What I try to do is I know I'm getting old though, so things change with me, but like I drink tea as much as possible. I like to drink like hot tea. Like right now I'm drinking hot tea. It helps my throat, you know, that kind of stuff. Chamomile tea. I know I'm an old person, all that stuff. Okay. But try to maintain your health. Okay. Now, the next thing about trying to stay awake is find something that you're interested in. Listen to a podcast. If you can, listen to an HVAC podcast. Okay. HVAC School, HVAC Uncensored. There's a bunch of different podcasts out there. Let's see. There's a new one, HVAC Radio. My buddies, Cameron, Ruben, Ulysses, and Chad. No, is it Chad? What's the last? I think it's Chad. I could be, if I'm butchering your name, I'm sorry, dude. But they have a cool new podcast too. So listen to HVAC podcasts. Those will help you out. Even if you can't listen to an HVAC podcast, check out, you know, some of these other ones. Listen to Joe Rogan show. Listen to anything that keeps you interested. The person that wrote that comment to me mentioned that, you know, it's the same feeling he gets when he reads a book. And I know what he's talking about because I get the same way. If I'm not interested, hold on. Sorry, I had my window open because I'm trying to keep it cool. And there was a car going by making a bunch of noise. But try to listen to podcasts of any type to keep you interested. I get the same way. If I'm not interested in something and I have to read a book, I start to fall asleep because I'm not interested in it, okay? So just find something that you can listen to. The podcasts are one of the best things that I find to keep me awake. Hey, you know what? This is another thing to kind of show my age. What I do too is I listen to books on tape. I listen to like a business book or a mystery or whatever, and I just from Audible and just download the book and then listen to it while I'm driving from call to call. That's another thing that keeps me kind of going and make sure that I stay awake, you know, because I find interest in the books. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Let me see what else we got inside the chat right now. Crank up the tunes helped me in your hour drive. Yeah, definitely. Listening to music, anything you can do. Let me see what else. Do I use manual J? Not very often. I mean, it's very rare that I actually have to do a manual J calculation. I don't do very much new installation or, you know, I'm doing package unit replacements. It's just a like for like replacement. We're not really redoing ductwork or calculating anything like that. All right, let's see what else. Let me see. Terry, I don't know what your question was. You said bypass. Let me see, Terry. I don't see your question here, but a lot of stuff sneaks by. So Twisted Candle Company, thank you so very much for the super chat. Ralph, how you doing, bud? I see you in there right now. Let me see what else. Let me see what. Yeah, I don't see your question in here, Terry. So make sure you post it again. Yeah, call a coworker, talk to him, call a friend. I might call someone while I'm driving and just bitch about something that happened at work. So let me see. All right, you guys are doing really good on the likes. You're at 325. Keep it going. We get up to 400 likes. I'll give away a beanie on the stream. So to someone that's in the chat. So smash the like button, guys. Get it up there. All right. Let me see what else. Yeah, if I missed your guys' question, post it again, okay? Let me see what else we got in my list of things to talk about. Adolfo and George both asked about running a business and any tips that I have for giving someone advice about starting a business or doing that. Okay, first and foremost, let's complete transparency, okay? I did not start my business, okay? I have taken over my business. My dad started my business in the late 80s, early 90s. I started working with him in 2000s. We partnered up. We still run the company together. He's kind of 2 feet out the door kind of thing. You know, he comes in and works in the office, but he doesn't work in the field or anything like that anymore, okay? So I am not a very good business person. There's a lot of mistakes that I make, my dad makes. I've learned a lot, but there's a lot of mistakes that I've made, okay? The best advice I can give to anybody that wants to start a business is, number one, you need to be the best in your craft before you even consider starting a business. You need to know what you're doing, okay? Coming out of trade school, I'm sorry, you can't just start a business. You're going to hurt the industry more than you're going to help yourself, okay? So be very cautious about that. You need to work in the business for a long time before you even consider starting your own business. I know it seems like your boss is making so much money off of you, but there's a lot more that goes into a business than just money, okay? The next thing, once you know your craft, you need to know a whole nother craft, and that's the side of business. I would highly suggest going to business classes at your local community college, take some night classes, take online classes, any kind of business training you can get, okay? You don't want to get into the industry and then try to figure out the business stuff, because you're potentially in for a world of hurt. And again, you're going to hurt the industry more than you're going to help yourself. Okay. So keep that in mind. Once you've kind of figured out the business stuff and you're an HVAC technician and you're a master of your craft, okay, you want to consider getting into business, then it's really time to start thinking. My best advice to you is going to be, don't leverage your life to start a business. Okay. What I mean by that is don't borrow a bunch of money and owe tons of people money to start a business and then hope that it succeeds. Because every business that you start, no matter how great you are, it's a gamble. There's a gamble that it might not succeed. Do you really want to leverage your life? And what I mean by leverage your life is borrow so much money, borrow against your house, borrow against all this stuff just to start a business. I'd be very cautious about that, okay? As much as possible, try to do a cash-based business. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that's how I do it. It's just that's how I would have done it had we started over, okay? Cash-based business as much as possible. Try not to get head over heels in debt, right? Because when bad things happen, you might still be okay, okay? But if you leverage your life to start a business, it can get real bad really fast, okay? So you need to be a master of your craft. You need to go to business school of some sort, and don't leverage your life to start that business, okay? Be very cautious about hiring employees. Make sure that you can keep them employed, okay? There's nothing worse than hiring people than having to lay them off, because that's really bad for you, okay? So you want to make sure that you have the work set up, okay? Also, don't be that guy. Don't steal customers from the company that you've been working for previous, okay? Don't be that guy, all right? Start your business and do it right. Don't be the person that just goes in there and steals customers and moves on, all right? I'm going to get off of that topic. If I got any more questions, feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Okay, let's get into here. What got me into refrigeration? I started working with my father, and I learned everything from him and really got up to that. Terry, I'm still looking for your question here, bud. I'm looking. I'm trying to think of your question. Let me see. Terry. I'm looking for your question, bud. Motor starters. Chris Young, I released a video, and it kind of talked a little bit about motor starters. It was just a teardown at the end of my exhaust fan is down video. There was a teardown on motor starters. Yeah, we're almost to we're at 359 likes, guys. Give it up, and I'll get it up to 400, and I'll definitely give away a beanie in this chat. Terry, I'm still looking for your question, but I don't see it, but I can only go so far back up into there. All right, let me see what else. Do I paint or spray anything on my condensation heat loops for the evap drain? No, because we have extremely dry climate here, so we really don't get really high humidity. I think today the humidity level is like 22%, and then in the summertime it might be as low as like 10%, 12%. So we don't get a crap ton of condensation. Therefore, we don't really have to spray like pan and drain treatment or anything like that. I've heard really good things about refrigeration technologies, pan and drain treatment, though, if that's what you're asking about. If you can only do one, refrigeration or HVAC, refrigeration, if I could only do one. But I love them both. So could I give an opinion on the GoPro comment? It was about how it would boost video quality. Okay, so I've had a lot of people ask me and tell me to use a GoPro, and I'm not a fan of using GoPros, and here's why, okay? I have a GoPro. I have a couple of them. And people say, you know, I can strap it to my head. I can strap it to my chest. The problem is I get motion sickness, okay? I get motion sickness, and I have to watch these videos probably 4 to 5 times before I release them. It would make me nauseous, and I would get sick watching those videos. So it's simple and as selfish as that. That's why I don't use a GoPro. I've used a GoPro here and there, but I won't use them as a body cam to walk around and catch the entire job. No. I like to just film the little tidbits of things and move on. There's nothing worse than, again, watching someone's GoPro video and the camera's just at the wrong angle and you can't see what they think that you're seeing the entire time as they're talking about it. Like I prefer to have it in my phone, and I use my phone as the camera, by the way. So let me see what else. Where is my question? There's so many questions coming through. Yes, this is the tumbler that Ralph sent me. Honeywell, the future is what we make it. Guys, if you guys ever have any questions, this has got hot apple chamomile tea in it too, if you guys are curious. Best thing before bed is have some chamomile tea. That's like that's great advice for you guys. Is every night before bed I drink a cup of chamomile tea. This one is hot apple tea. My wife surprised me with that one because usually we have like a mint chamomile tea or something. Let me see. I'm getting down into here. How would I go about getting a job just after graduating? That's a really interesting one. So what I would suggest if after graduating is, first off, try to get on your teacher's good side because your teacher has the ability to get you jobs, okay? The next thing is just start knocking on doors. Print out a resume, call a business, a local company, and offer to do ride-alongs if it's legal in your area. It's not legal in California anymore, but offer to do a ride-along, and they don't have to pay you. Say, hey, I'm willing to ride with you for a couple days because that's going to benefit you and the company. You got to be careful though, because some states won't let you do that kind of stuff. But it's a plus for both of you guys for a ride-along because you get to ride along with one of their technicians. You get to kind of see how things go, and then they get to see your work ethic and how you go about it. Go to a job interview. Okay, so job interviews are totally different everywhere you go. Here at my company, we're pretty laid back, so I don't want you to come in dressed up in a suit and all that fancy stuff, okay? I've had people that come to job interviews, and I'm taking them on ride-alongs at that moment, right? So just be ready to work. Come in my opinion, what you would work in, okay? Obviously not your work uniform, but come in dressed like you're going to work. Show them that you can tuck in your shirt, make yourself look nice, clean yourself up. You know, if you got a crazy beard craziness like me, try to trim it up just a little bit, make it look a little bit fancy. But just be prepared, okay? Be honest at the interview and ask questions, because remember, when you go to an interview, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. You don't need to be cocky about it, but you need to ask the proper questions. Be prepared. Ask about their benefits. Ask about their retirement plans. Ask about their health insurance. Ask about the pay. Ask about their vacation days, and then ask them, what do they expect of you, and feel free to discuss that stuff with them, okay? So there's a lot more to that. Feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and we can talk about it some more. So I kind of asked that one. I want to get back to the running a business. Okay. Another thing to remember too, and I want to talk about this right now. So COVID happened and life happened. Okay. It's been a couple months now since we've been going through this COVID thing, and we just got our first bankruptcy notice to my business, meaning that I had a customer that defaulted and filed bankruptcy. So they're no longer going to pay me back the amount of money that they owe me. That is something that a lot of people don't think about. Okay. When COVID happened, unfortunately, we had to lay all of our employees off, and we are not the perfect business, okay? But we laid them off and we continued to pay their health insurance. We didn't have to do that, okay? But that cost us money as a business because we wanted to keep those guys as employees. We wish that we could have kept them employed the entire time that they were laid off, but we couldn't. So they were laid off for like a month or two, whatever it was, but we maintained their health insurance, okay? Because we thought that was important. The bankruptcy thing that just happened right now, those are things that happen as a business owner. So you need to be prepared for that kind of stuff. COVID, nobody could have prepared for the severity of it, right? But, we were kind of ready in the way that we still wanted to take care of our employees. Now, all of our employees are back, but I mean, it's things like that people don't think about when they think about starting a business, okay? Having an emergency fund, being ready for the worst case scenario, planning for when you don't have work. What do you do when you don't have work for your guys? You just send them home? Well, when are they going to get sick of going home early? Those are things you have to think about as a business owner, okay? So there's a lot that goes into owning a business. I would encourage you to reach out to other business owners. There's a lot of different groups out there and stuff. That you can, talk to other business owners and different things like that. So feel free to reach out to those people. All right, let's get to my other questions I have on my list right here. We're almost at we're at 387 likes, guys, 467. When we get up to 400 likes on this stream, I'm going to go ahead and give away a beanie within the chat. So smash the like button, guys. All right. let me see. So Chris had asked me an interesting question. And it basically, I'm going to paraphrase. He said, okay, I'm always preaching big picture diagnosis, right? So I will do a big picture diagnosis. I will go through, I will try to look at everything that I can, and I will give the customer a big picture repair quote, okay? Now, oftentimes, the customer doesn't do the big picture repair, and that is okay. Right? So Chris's question was, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with, I go through all this work to, give them a proper diagnosis, and then they just want to fix the symptom. They don't want to fix the problem. Okay. Hey, they got a bad compressor. They just want me to quote the compressor, but they don't want me to dig into it. They don't want me to come back and change the filter dryers because it was a burnout system. They just want to let it go. That stuff happens. The best advice, and the thing that I do is I just document everything. Okay. It's okay if a customer doesn't want to do a big picture repair, but they're going to get a big picture diagnosis when it comes to me. Okay. So I'm going to tell them, like, look, this thing has a bad compressor. I'm going to give them some speculative, guesstimates. Hey, it's a carrier package unit with a fixed orifice metering device. It's got a grounded compressor. Pretty good odds it's got a plugged up fixed orifice metering device or actuator metering device. So, you may want me to go ahead and change that to, no, we just want to change the compressor and see if it's plugged up. Okay, but I'm going to write it down and I'm going to document everything. And then when, 90% of the time I find out that it is plugged up and I say, okay, now we need to come back out. It's going to be another 8 hours. We're going to pull the top on the unit, change the metering device, and go from there. Really? Yeah, because I told you to do it the first time, but you didn't want to do it, okay? So it frustrates me, but at the same time, it's not, it is what it is if they don't want to do the big picture repair. It's okay. I just document everything though, okay? So they're definitely going to get a big picture estimate and a big picture diagnosis, and then what they choose to do, so be it. I have some customers that'll ask me, hey, okay, I'll go work on a Hvacr system that has like 4 evaporator coils and 2 of them are leaking, but the other 2 look really bad. And I say, you know what? We should probably change all 4. How many do we have to change? You have to change 2. Okay, let's take a gamble, and they'll say, let's just change the 2. And, okay, that's fine. I just document everything, okay? So then that way, when it does come, it's like, hey, you remember when this happened? Okay, now we need to change these other 2, So right now, customers are definitely only spending what they have to. They don't want to spend, hey, look at that. We got to 422 likes, guys. So I will definitely give away a beanie right now, okay? So let's go ahead. Terry, have I used the new spin tools for flaring and swaging, and how good are they? I've never done the spin swage, but I do have the spin. I'm sorry, I've never done the spin flare, but I do have the spin swage. I've used the spin swage for a long time now. I've also used the Rector Seal swage. Both of them work great. I have nothing bad to say about them. The only thing I will say is when you're doing the swage, you have to have a high-powered drill that hits 2,000 RPMs. If it doesn't, you just have to know how to use it right, okay? The Rector Seal makes the swage bits that'll go in the impact, but the impacts will typically spin more than 2,000 RPMs. I think they spin like 2,200 RPMs. But the important thing is if you're going to use the impact, you don't want it to do the ugga-duggas, okay? You want the drill to spin without hitting the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, because that's going to jack up your pipe. So you just leave it on there, let it go full blast, and slightly push pressure and let the swage tool do the work, okay? Thank you so very much. I see it. Sean, thank you so much for that super chat, bud. That is awesome, man. I really, really appreciate it. So what we're going to do, let me go ahead and, can I do a detailed video on a headmaster? If I get the opportunity, I will definitely do it. I've done lots of videos talking about head pressure control valves and explaining them, but I'll definitely try to do that. Okay. Feel free to send me an email, Chevy 6.0. Okay. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, and I'll try to come up with something. Sean, thank you so very much for that super chat. That is awesome, bud. Okay. All right. Let me see what else we got in here. Can I make a detailed video on economizers? I will definitely try to make these videos when I can, okay? So what we want to do is I'm going to give away a beanie. It's going to be whichever one you want it to be, whether it be a cuffed or a non-cuffed beanie. So once I announce the person that wins, you send me an email, okay? The person that wins, and you tell me if you want cuffed or non-cuffed. For those that don't win, you guys have the opportunity. You guys can go to hvacrvideos.com. I have these beanies available right now on my website, okay? I have cuffed and non-cuffed, plenty of hats available and shirts available. So what we're going to do is, hang on just 1 second, and I'm going to pick a random comment within here right now, okay? So hang on just a second. Let me pull this up. And I'm going to pick one person in the chat. Go ahead and start chatting right now. And I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to start chatting. Chat in there, get your name in there. That way you're entered into the drawing. And I'll definitely give one away right now. So start chatting, chat away, give it a second. Just chat whatever you need to, and I'll get your name in there. Keep it going. I'm going to give it a second here. Keep going. If you guys have something to say important, don't say it right now because the chat's about to go crazy right now with 400 something people chatting because they want a free beanie. All right. All right. Hold on. Keep it going, guys. Keep it going. Let's let this thing get rocking right now. Okay. Keep going. All right. Let me go ahead and go to here real quick and hold on just one second. And let's keep chatting right now. Okay. I'm going to go right there and let's see. Hold on just one second. Resume entries. And right. I'm going to pick a random person's name right now. All right, cool. Right there. It is. I got the person. HVACR Heat Master. You are the winner of the beanie. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. HVACR Heat Master. You win the beanie. So send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and we'll figure everything else out. Okay. So HVACR Heat Master. You guys can stop chatting. All right. Let's go ahead and close that out. And let's go ahead and move on over here. I'm going to go ahead and give away, while you guys are chatting right now, we're going to go ahead and give away an Overtime Yeti tumbler. Okay, similar to this one, but this is a Honeywell tumbler, but we're going to give an HVAC Overtime tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a free person for the Overtime tumbler right now. Hang on just one second. Random person coming in right now. Right there. Tony Delgrado. Tony Delgrado, you are the winner of the HVAC Overtime Yeti tumbler. Okay, Tony, what I need you to do is send an email to hvacovertime@gmail.com. Tony Delgrado, you are the winner of the Overtime tumbler, okay? Send an email to hvacovertime@gmail.com. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the normal chat. Okay, stop chatting. Stop chatting. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the questions real quick. If I missed your guys' questions, Chris, thank you very much. Chris, I do have a Patreon for those that are interested. There's a link to my Patreon account in the show notes of this video. For those that are interested in supporting the channel, you guys don't have to, but I have a Patreon. You can become a Patreon patron. You can become a YouTube channel member. You can do super chats. You can buy merch, anything like that. Okay. The easiest way to support the channel, though, like I said in the beginning of the stream, is simply watch the YouTube videos all the way through and leave me a comment and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the YouTube video. That's the easiest way to support the channel. Okay. But yes, I do have a Patreon account. It's in the show notes of this video. It's HVACR videos is what the Patreon's under. So what sanitizer do I use on RTU units? Hard working. I use the Strike Back Sanitizer by Refrigeration Technologies. There might be a link in the show notes of this video. If there's not, send me an email. I can get it to you. But refrigetech.com, I think, and they have all their information on there. Which manifold would I suggest as a new HVAC technician, digital or manual? You know, these days, to be honest with you, I'm okay with digital. Probably go with the Fieldpiece S-Man. That would be the manifold I would use or I would recommend. Compound gauges are cool, but there's so much technology in the digital ones. Understanding how a compound gauge works is very important, but you get so much more benefit out of the digital ones now. So I would suggest going ahead and buying a digital one, but you need to understand the principles behind it, okay? Saturation temperatures aren't just a number on your gauges. You need to know how to look those up in a pressure temperature chart. I know that most people don't have pressure temperature charts, but we used to carry them in our pockets. I don't carry one anymore because I have an app on my phone. Honeywell has a pressure temperature app. There's a couple different other ones too. You know what? I didn't say this. If you guys are interested, and I'm going to post his email right now. My buddy Ralph was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still in here. He works for Honeywell Refrigerants. Ralph is really great about answering refrigerant related questions. But if I remember correctly, he was actually the principal or one of the main people that programmed or set up the Honeywell pressure temperature app. So email Ralph, he can give you information on it. I just put his email address in the chat right now. So, all right. What is superheat? Send me an email, but I'm not going to go into that right now because I'll butcher that, but just send me an email. All right, let me get to my list of things so I don't miss everybody. So I already answered the receiver question. Raphael had asked me about clearing a restriction on a carrier actuator metering device, okay? That's an interesting one. All right, carrier package units and some train package units, especially the older ones, well, even the new carrier package units still have it. Their metering device is a fixed orifice metering device, okay, on some of them, and there's multiple metering devices. So on a carrier, it has a header on it, so you've got the evaporator coil, and it has a main line running down the evaporator. But on the liquid line side, there's multiple circuits going into the evaporator, and each one of those 3/8 lines going into the evaporator has a metering device in it. So oftentimes, those metering devices can get plugged up, and it's kind of tricky, okay? We call them an actuator metering device or a liquid header metering device, whatever, there's a couple different methods, but those metering devices can get plugged up, okay? There's a couple different methods out there, and I think I've even shown it in a video trying to clear one before, okay? What you can do is you can pressurize the system with nitrogen, heat up the metering device itself with like a MAP gas torch or something like that, making sure that you don't melt the solder, and try to break free anything that's in there. But here's the thing. I honestly have not had very good luck ever trying to heat up a metering device, okay? An actuator metering device. And furthermore, what caused that metering device to plug up? Okay, something caused it to plug up, and more than likely it's dirty oil from an ill-maintained condensing unit. Okay, the condenser gets plugged, the oil overheats in the system, it runs high head pressure, it cooks the oil passes through the system, kind of coagulates, and it clogs the metering devices. Okay, so let's say that you get it clear. You're going to need to figure out what was plugging it up and what's in the system. You're going to need to scrub the whole system on the inside and clean it all out, okay? Now, some people choose to use like flushes and different things like that. You got to be careful using flushes because sometimes they have solvents and different things that can harm the system, okay? Polyester oil is a natural solvent, but that can also make it get plugged up more, because if you had a burnout or if there's crap inside the lines, or you've been brazing it without nitrogen, that kind of stuff, you can create more crap in the lines, and the POE oil is just going to push it all the way through the system and clean it all off, and it's going to get stuck in the metering device. So if you have a plugged up metering device, I've heard of some people having luck trying to clean them with a MAP gas torch. Me personally, I haven't had the greatest luck in the world. I would just as soon change the metering device. You can actually buy just the metering device for those evaporators. They're a pain in the butt to change, but you can do it, or you can change the whole evaporator. But sometimes you just got to think, okay, if I clean this, is it just going to plug up again? So I haven't had very good luck cleaning them. All right, let's see what else we got in the chat right now that I'm missing. Can someone post a link for my Discord? Also, what if I used a stick with a GoPro for hard to reach and tight spaces? I've done that before. I think in one of my recent videos where I had a small carrier package unit, I set a GoPro down in the unit to catch the brazing, so I had multiple camera angles, and so I don't mind doing that every once in a blue moon. As far as the Discord server, hold on just a second and I'll post a link to that right now. So give me 1 sec. I'll post a link. Don't switch. Hold on just a second. And let me find my Discord link. And I'm going to go to right here. And hold on just a sec. Let me find the invite link. It's right there. And hold on. There it is right there. Hold on just 1 second. Control C. Let me close that down. I'm going to post the link to the Discord server right now. All right, there you go. There's the link to my Discord server. If you're interested, go check it out. Full disclosure, I'm not on the Discord server very often. I might pop in there once or twice a week, say, hey, talk for a few minutes. But there's a group of people that go in there and talk all the time, so it is a community. Definitely check it out, okay? Does my customer go with Heatcraft for new equipment? So my main customer that I've installed a lot of Heatcraft equipment for, they actually just changed away from Heatcraft and they went back to RDI or Colpack. Not my favorite choice, but it is what it is. So a lot of my customers purchase their own equipment. So I am actually selling a brand new, I opted away from Heatcraft when I sold another customer some new equipment that I'm going to be installing on Wednesday. And I went with Russell or Russell. I went with Russell equipment. So let's see how that goes. But it's not a smart evaporator. It's just, it meets all the energy efficiency crap, but it doesn't have an EXV or anything like that. All right, let's see what else. Most hack job I've ever seen. Ooh. That's an interesting one. I just recently did one that really pissed me off where I went to go lift up an air conditioner and they sheet metal fixed all kinds of crap and it was a nightmare. I posted on my Instagram, but we were lifting a 15-ton package unit and the ductwork started coming with it because they messed up on designing the curb. So that was a pretty hack job. That was pretty ridiculous. All right, let's see what else. All right, I'm going to get to my list of things to talk about. So when I was coming up in the trade, motor starters scared the crap out of me. I just recently did a video where I showed an exhaust fan and I talked about the old school motor starters. They used to scare the crap out of me because they were so big, they were so ominous, they made really loud buzzing sounds, and I just didn't understand what they were doing. That happens to a lot of us when we first get started in the trade. Things scare us. But what happened was I learned how motor starters work, okay? So I didn't learn from one source, okay? I learned from multiple sources all at the same time. I started working for my father when I was a young kid. I learned a lot from him, good and bad. Then I came to work for him full time, and his one requirement was that I needed to go to trade school. So I went to the local community college, Mount San Antonio or Mount Sac, went to trade school at the same time. I was still learning from my dad, and I was learning from someone else that worked at our company. Actually, my cousin was working with us, and he taught me a lot too. So I would go to trade school and they would talk about motor starters. And then my dad would tell me about a motor starter. And then my cousin would tell me about a motor starter. And the three of them always gave me different information, but it all just sat there in my head. I absorbed it. I listened. Okay. So even if you don't understand fully what's going on, just let people talk to you about it. And it's going to sit there in the back of your head. And then there was one day I was in an advanced electrical class in trade school. And I remember sitting there and in fact, it's funny. It's right here. This is my book that I had. It's called Motor Controls, 2nd edition. This is a really old book. This is the book that I learned about motor starters. And so I remember being in trade school and we were talking about motor starters and they just didn't make sense to me. Okay. But then something happened. The teacher said something and I remembered something that I saw and something my dad said and something my cousin said, and it clicked. And all of a sudden it just, oh my gosh. I know why that does that, and I know why that does that. And every time I hear that sound, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, and when the motor overloads, that's what's happening, okay? So when it comes to understanding stuff in this trade for you guys, just understand we're always learning, and you're never going to understand everything the first time people explain it to you. But just listen. Keep your mouth shut and listen. Ask questions when you need to, but listen, okay? It's going to get stored in your head, and then one day it's going to click, okay? So I explain a head pressure control valve in the beginning of this stream, okay? I give a crude explanation of why we need a pressure differential across the expansion valve. That's probably not the most technical explanation you can have on why an expansion valve does what it does, but that little bit of information I gave you might just sit there until someone else explains something and someone else explains something, then it's all going to come together and click, okay? That's some of the best advice I can give about this trade is just listen, pay attention, read as much as you can, all right? All right, let's get to the chat real quick and see what I'm missing in here. Hamilton Mechanical, you have the newer edition of that book. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that book helped me out a lot. It's a really old book, but I want to know. I mean, really old. This book, I probably went to trade school in 2002. So yeah, this is from 2001. So yeah, 2002 was about it. Maybe 2001, somewhere in there. All right. Running a business, Ken Davis says, running a business is great some days and awful other days. Isn't that the truth? How about when you have an employee that is supposed to meet you out on a job site? You're scheduled, you have other people meeting you there, and he wakes up and he starts driving on the freeway and traffic's really bad, so he just decides to go home and not call you. And then when he doesn't show up on time, you call him and you say, hey, what's going on? Where are you at? Oh yeah, traffic was really bad, so I went home. That's happened to me before. That's a crappy day, right? Or how about you have an employee that doesn't know what a flashing yellow light means. So he tries to go through the flashing yellow light without paying attention to the car that's coming at him doing 50 miles an hour, and he pulls right in front of the car. And he totals his van and the other car. That's happened to me. Life happens. Employee problems happen. People make mistakes. That's what we have insurance for. That's what we have employee handbooks for and all that different stuff. But it's important to understand that the business owners go through things too. Yes, there's times that we make really good money, but there's also times that we lose a lot of money. Okay. There's also times that we run into issues. It's a give and take. You want to try to find a place that can treat you right, but you have to give an equal amount of respect and effort to the business in order for them to give that equal amount of effort and respect to you too. Okay. So that's a really important bit of advice. But just remember, sometimes your boss is going through a lot. Okay. I'm not excusing them being a horrible boss, but I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that goes into business that people don't think about. Okay. You know, when you run a small company and life happens and someone gets sick and they have to call in sick, damn, that sucks because that messes up your whole week. You know, I run a show that we're 4 people, including myself. And if one person calls in sick, that really screws us up. But life happens. I mean, I understand that, but that's just the burden you have to go through. And then I struggle in my head right now. I need to hire someone. But if I hire someone, we're not going to have enough work for everybody. So therefore, I have to take on more burden and more calls and whatever to kind of relieve the amount of pressure on everybody else. So those are things that happen. So I'm not trying to give just the negative side. There's a lot of good sides too about being a business owner, but you just have to understand there's good and bad. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. Let's see. What am I missing in here? Chatbot. There are more likes than there are current viewers. You're right, but the chatbot doesn't know any different. So, all right. Let's see what else we got in here. I'm going to get to my list of questions here. I already answered that one. Scott had asked me a question about how careful I am, especially right now with mom and pop restaurants. And I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'll say it again. I just had my first COVID bankruptcy. I just had a customer file bankruptcy on us. Luckily, they probably only owed us $1,500 or something like that. Honestly, we haven't really dug into it too much, but I got the bankruptcy notice and we were reading through it. So yes, we are extremely cautious about extending credit to customers. Right now, in this situation and the things that we're doing, unfortunately, I'd love to help people out and let them pay me later, but we just can't. Now, I deal with some big chain restaurants. You're never going to get them to pay you up front. That's just not going to happen. But when it comes to new customers and mom and pops, I'm not even taking them on right now. But if I was to take them on, they would be COD. They have to pay me when I leave the job. That's just plain and simple. We can't be doing this extending credit to people right now because you just never know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to shut everything down again and this customer owes you a bunch of money or something like that. So this is a scary time for sure. So yeah, I'm very careful about extending credit out to other people. Let's see. I have a question for you guys, and I'm open to emails on this one too, and then I'll get to the chat because that pretty much covers, I think, most of them. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. I answered that one, answered that one, answered that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Yeah, I answered all those questions. Okay. So I have gone back and forth over the years and thought about buying a mega ohm meter or an insulation tester. Okay. It's not really something that I'm going to use on a daily, but I'm kind of curious, and I've never owned one before because I've never really found the need for it. I realize, I'm sure, you know, a lot of people say, why didn't you meg that compressor? Okay. There's a lot that goes into using a mega ohm meter or an insulation tester on a compressor. Even Copeland, if you read their technical bulletins, they say you can't just do a one-time, you know, this compressor's bad, especially if you want to see like kind of bad or failing resistance. I mean, if it's below a certain value, Copeland says, yeah, it's bad. But I mean, Copeland recommends that you trend a compressor, meaning that you go back multiple times and check the insulation resistance and slowly notice a trend and possibly try changing the oil in the system, evacuating it, changing the refrigerant. Because what a lot of people don't know is in a refrigeration system, if you have high moisture content, if you have a lot of moisture in the oil and the refrigerant, that can actually cause a flawed insulation value. Okay. So it can make you think that you have poor insulation because the system's really laden with moisture. So you have to understand the system. Now, with that being said, I've kind of struggled, gone back and forth between owning an insulation tester or a mega ohm meter, and I think I'm going to buy one. So I'm leaning towards the Fluke 1587, but I'm kind of curious. I'm looking for a legit meter so I can do some really good tests with it and make some videos and stuff. I'd be kind of curious to know if you guys have any suggestions that are watching in the chat or anything like that about insulation meters. I'm not looking for a cheapy one. I'm looking for a decent quality, like a Fluke 1587 is kind of what I'm leaning towards because that seems to be like the best one that I can find that I'm not spending $10,000 for, right? So I'd be kind of curious if you guys in the chat have any suggestions, or if you guys want to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm open to those too. Okay. Let me see what else we got going on in the chat. 3 weeks in and your question hasn't been answered. DCD Dreamer 45. You got to understand, man, a lot of questions go by. So if I don't get to your question, shoot me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com or try posting your question again right now. Put it in caps lock, bud, and I'll try to get to it right now if I see it. Just a lot of stuff goes by, so it's a little difficult. Meggers are good. Trust you. We use them in all. Yeah, I know. Are you finding a ton of workers with no masks on the kitchen as well? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I find restaurant managers and kitchen staff basically take the masks off when they go in the kitchen for the most part. Waste of waste of money. Was I right about my last video? Was the customer blue? No. I don't. No. No. But a lot of people tell me about that, about using a Megger and different things like that. And I've just always kind of thought about buying one, but I'm at a point now where I can. So no, that wasn't, yeah, no, Sean. All right, let's see what else in here. Yeah, let me know, DCD Dreamer. We'll definitely try to get to it. Av did a good video on his Meg. Okay, I'll definitely check out Av's video on that. Fluke is a great band. Yeah. Use a Megger all the time, but it's only a piece of the picture. Exactly, David. And that's the thing. You know, we have these Meggers that you can buy, you know, that the supply house really tries to push to people. And it's just a light that says this, this, and this, good, bad, or not bad, you know. That's not how a Megger works or an insulation tester, okay? I understand how they work, but I just never really had the need for it because I can diagnose most things. But there's been a few instances where, okay, yeah, a Megger might have told me something on that one. So, all right. Do I watch Av here in the tube? Yeah, occasionally I do watch Av. I watch Av. I watch EEV blog every once in a while. I mean, I don't watch them religiously. I watch Big Clive, but I go back between a couple of those guys to kind of get good knowledge from everybody. Have I ever used a dial-a-charge located behind me? No, Robert, I have not. Yeah, Vincent, see the Supco M500, that's not the Megger that I want because there's a lot of information it's not telling you. So let me see what else we got in here. You don't have to go too expensive for a Megger. Your multimeter does the rest of your needs electrically, so don't go overboard. Yeah, good point. I mean, but I just want a high-quality Megger for sure. So the whole picture, the big picture, that's right. Meggers can damage windings. Yes, they can if you don't know how to use them for sure. Right on, Ernesto. Cool. He says his new job starts on Monday. So let's see what else we got in here. +1 on Av, bigclive.com, photo induction, and EEV blog. I haven't seen photo induction. I'll definitely have to check that one out for sure. Can we get a pullover hoodie with the logo on them? Beyond the Pines. So right now we're just going to do a zip-up hoodie. It's possible that we could do a pullover hoodie in the future, but probably not this winter. A lot goes into doing hoodies and stuff like that, but we'll see. Okay, there's a possibility. Great work. Okay, can I show an example on how I write a good work order? That's an interesting idea. Maybe I could do something like that with a fake customer or something like that. I have actually watched Bumblefoot. Bumblefoot, is that how you need to say his name? I've watched him before. Interesting. Elias' uncle. Wait, no, Bumblefoot, isn't that someone else? Isn't that something that, that sounds familiar though. There's someone that I can think of his voice right now. And for some reason, I think of someone's voice when I hear Bumblefoot or whatever. Elias' uncle Bumblefoot. That sounds really familiar. All right. Let's see. DCD Dreamer. Did your question come by again yet? I haven't seen it yet, but I'm trying to pay attention for his question. If I don't meg at the right setting, like 250 volt on a 500 motor, then it's just a paperweight. That is exactly right. And that's the thing. Like most people think that they just grab a meg and, and it tells them everything, but that's why I've never really been a fan of them, but I am interested in one now. So, would I have to worry about acid burnout on a semi-hermetic compressor? Yeah, you have to worry about acid burnout in any refrigeration system for sure. So at this point, guys, I'm just answering questions in the chat. So also, if you don't, yeah, exactly. I already answered that one. Would I have to worry? I already answered that one. Mr. Carlson's lab is another good one. Do I own a meter that tells me the order of the phases? Yes, Young Mafia. My field piece, SC 480 does phase rotation. My SC 660, I don't have the 680, but the field piece SC 660 also does phase rotation. That's a great meter. I love that. That's one of my favorite features of the phase rotation. So compressor analyzer, aka bump box. I have a compressor analyzer. There's two of them sitting right up there, right there. That big one used to be mine that I would use all the time, but I honestly don't have a need for a compressor analyzer these days. For the most part, you can do almost everything you could do with that with a 3-in-1 or some universal start caps and different things like that, and a good VOM meter, you can kind of figure everything out. So I don't carry a compressor analyzer with me anymore. Let me see what else. What am I missing in here? Do I itemize parts or just a grand total? Oh, no, I itemize everything. So my customers, when they see my invoices, it breaks down all the parts. If I change a temp control, I mean, I don't itemize wire nuts. I'll usually do like an electrical fee, or sometimes you might add a couple bucks into a temp control just to cover all the electrical that you use to put into it. But yeah, I itemize everything all the way down. We're a parts and materials kind of a company. Have I ever used the, no, I've never used the dialer charge. What thermal imager do I use? I use the, FLIR 1 Pro is the one I've been using a lot lately. I've been using a couple different thermal imagers. I started with the FLIR 1 Pro, the C-Shot Pro, which is a standalone, and the FLIR C3 is a standalone. I thought I would like the standalone, but the FLIR 1 Pro has quickly become my favorite. The only downside to the FLIR 1 Pro thermal imager is that I use an Otter case on my phone, and you have to peel the Otter case back to be able to use the thermal imager. So I peel it back like this, and then extend the thermal imager dongle as far out as you can, and it fits right in there, but it won't fit with the Otter rubber thing all the way down. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on in here. All right, cool. We definitely did that. Let's see. How do I change out low pressure controls while keeping the suction pressure? Well, I've done it a few times where I've shown a hot swap where I just pump it down to a very low pressure, have everything ready, pull off the 1/4 inch flare nut, you know, at like 10 PSI, put your finger on it real quick, and then put the new one on, minimal gas loss, call it a day. But be very careful. You have to know what you're doing if you're doing a hot swap for sure. So, how do I already answered that one? Let me see. A good megger can run a test feature. You've had windings not fail if they've gotten hot. Where did I get my R290 bottle stand? It came in a kit from Hvacr Refrigerants. It came with the plastic case. It has like a cardboard. It's not cardboard. It looks like cardboard, but it's made out of plastic, and it has Velcro on the back. So actually, that's the tip right there, is you can just take a cardboard box and tape it together and put Velcro on the back, and it'll hold up to almost anything. And then it might hold to the right, you know, spot on your scale or whatever. But it's in an Hvacr R290 kit, Hvacr Refrigerants. FLIR is expensive. Yes, they are. We're almost at 500. If I haven't liked, come on. Oh yeah, that's awesome, guys. All right. We are almost, oh yeah, I already answered that one. You have an extender so you can use it with your case. You'll email me. Yeah, Joel, I have the extender too. Honestly, I have one right here. I just don't like it. Hold on. Yeah, they make like dongle extenders for the FLIR 1 Pro. I have them around here, but it's really flimsy. I don't like it. I don't like the dongle extenders. I've had them. I have a few of them lying around. I just prefer plugging it in. Yeah, I'm using the Max Travel on mine. It won't go into my phone, but it's a different phone though, so I don't know. All right. Are Mitsubishi VFDs common in my area on Linux package units for sure? Yeah, we have Mitsubishi VFDs on Linux package units like crazy. So, is everything going R290? Yeah, pretty much. Isobutane or R290 is going to be the wave of the future. They're using it in some self-contained supermarket situations. They've been testing it out. They've got these crazy R290 case lineups where they have multiple compressors on the top. If you scroll around Facebook or in some of the supermarket groups, you'll see them. I don't know how well they're doing, but if you ever see, they have like scroll compressors. They have the sideways laying scroll compressors, and they have so much complicated piping going everywhere, and it's amazing because they still stay within the charge limitations of R290, which is nuts. But I foresee them raising the charge limitations of R290. Right now, it's 150 grams, I believe, is the max amount in a self-contained reach-in you can use for R290. I see that going up to 500 pretty soon. That's my opinion. They're going to make that charge limitation up to 500. And then eventually, my thought in the future is I see them going to hydrocarbon refrigerants for residential. I can envision a residential split system that's using chilled fluid, like glycol, running glycol into the house, but then you have R290 refrigerant outside at the condensing unit. Obviously, the charge limitation is going to be a 500 or more, but I can totally see residential going to R290 too. And just keeping it out of the house and just doing like a chilled fluid of some sort, pumping that into the house, using it as, you know, your heat exchanger fluid. coming back out, that kind of a thing. I foresee that as the future. And then, yeah. All right. You're in Rancho and can't remember the name of the brown ale I get and where I get it. Dave, Rogue Hazelnut Brown is the beer that I drink. You have to like hazelnut and you have to like coffee because it has like a distinct coffee taste to it. I get it from Bevmo. I've heard you can get it from Total Wine and More too, but Bevmo has it. I get it from Bevmo in Eastville. But you can get it a lot of different places. I don't see it at the grocery store very much unless you go to some of the fancy grocery stores in Orange County. But Bevmo is a Rogue Hazelnut Brown. They're out of, I think, Eugene, Oregon or something like that. They're a microbrewery or something like that. But yeah, Rogue Hazelnut Brown. That's the brown ale I drink. And then there's a couple other browns too that Bevmo has that are really good. Feel free to send me an email. Do I call my crescents nut rounders? No, I don't. But if you don't know how to use a crescent wrench, yes, you will round every nut out there. So people need to know how to use their tools. Do I ship my merch to Canada? Yeah, I do, Blair. But unfortunately, because of Canada's expensive, it costs so much, there's a flat $20 shipping fee and it damn near costs that every time. But yes, I do ship to Canada. Canada is one of the places you can buy from the website. So, no more 410A. Yeah, they're slowly gonna be phasing out 410A too. That's a new thing that's coming. So, let me see what else. Am I getting calls for walk-in coolers getting hot only in the morning? Yeah, that happens. It's usually low charge because the head pressure control valve tries to bypass with not enough refrigerant. You'll get warm walk-in cooler in the morning. I kind of talked about it at the beginning of the stream, and then they'll tell you that in the afternoon it starts working, and they can't figure out why. It's usually low charge because the system needs to be properly charged. Pay attention to if you go back and review the beginning of this, right in the beginning I started talking about head pressure control valves and kind of explained properly charging systems with them. Dave, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. That is awesome. You are the man, dude. Thank you. Any suggestions on getting more customers? Well, it really depends. I mean, if you're in commercial refrigeration, like restaurant stuff like I do, it's difficult getting in with a lot of the corporations and big chains. So your best bet is to try to get in by doing warranty work. So you can get a hold of the manufacturers of the equipment, try to become a warranty contractor. That's going to get you in the customer's building. From that point forward, what you can do with that is your business. But remember, though, that warranty work oftentimes will be paid at a lesser rate. They don't pay full hourly wages. They have predetermined amounts that they pay. But one thing that people don't know, okay, they're usually not going to do this for normal contractors, but most warranty companies out there are open to negotiations for their agreed upon labor rates. So just because you do work for Delfield doesn't mean that their standard labor rate is what they're going to pay for you. If you're worth it, they'll pay you more money. But I mean, they're never going to pay full wages though. So again, Dave, thank you so very much. You guys with these super chats are awesome. You guys are amazing. Let me see. They phasing out 410A, yet Manitowoc is still using it on newer ice machines. Yeah, but Manitowoc's going to end up going to R290 for their ice machines. They're already using it on some of the smaller ones in Europe. They'll end up going to R10. Manitowoc's using 410A on their budget brand ice machine. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's basically the old Q series Manitowoc. I can't think of it right now, but yeah. Does anyone else have an apprentice that can't put down an impact? It's like they are allergic to a nut driver. David Clark, you and me both, dude. Everybody loves these damn impacts, and they just ugga-dugga the hell out of every screw. That's why people give me jokes, and I said in one of my videos, I made like an intro, like a teasing intro, where I said just throw the impact in the trash, because I can't handle how people don't know how to use them. And yes, I know a bunch of people in the chat told me that Milwaukee makes an impact, an M12 impact that has a screw setting. I bought it. I have the Milwaukee Impact, the M12 with the screw setting. You'll still strip out screws even on the screw setting. So you have to know how to use the trigger. You have to know how to let off. If you don't know how to use a clutch or whatever, you just got to know how to let off the damn thing. I can still remember not taking a cordless drill on the roof because it was so damn heavy. Okay. I remember my dad having the stupid Makita thing with that 7-foot battery on it. We didn't take those onto the roof unless we absolutely needed them. So we had damn nut drivers for everything. Okay. We never had stripped out screws with nut drivers, but when we went to cordless drills on the roof, man, stripping everything out. Passed your first inspection today. Right on, man. Insert your GIF here. All right. How much does my setup cost for evacuating a system? Ally Baker, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. That is awesome. How much does my evacuation setup? Oh, geez. I have the True Blue professional kit. man, I want to say that True Blue kit is damn near $500, if not more. It's quite expensive. You can go to truetechtools.com. I actually have a discount code, big picture, one word. You can save 8% on your order. You can check out the price there. But yeah, that True Blue kit is on point. That thing is badass. If you're doing a lot of refrigeration and air conditioning work, that thing will save you some time and evacuations, but got to spend some money to make money kind of thing. All right. When you watch mechanics show on YouTube, you think, do people even turn wrenches anymore? That's true. That's definitely true. So, you know, we got torque wrenches and all these different things for setting pressures, and you got automatic flaring tools. And I mean, it's all good, but damn, you know, hell, you know what though? I mean, at the same time, I'm guilty of it too. I bought an automatic pipe cutter from Milwaukee. Dude, when you're doing plumbing work, man, cuts a pipe super easy, nice and clean. That thing's awesome. But yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people are having a hard time using mechanical tools. All right. How frustrating is it dealing with strip screws? Drives you nuts. Do I ever have problems with your J28 torch? If that's the, I don't know which one that is. Send me an email. We'll talk about it more. True Blue just paid $749 for it, but time for an upgrade. Yeah. Is it okay to blowtorch a filter dryer to evaporate the moisture from the desiccant instead of replacing it? No, because where's the moisture going to go? The moisture is not going to evaporate in the system. So no, a filter dryer doesn't just capture moisture. It captures sediment, debris, waxes, and different things like that. Just simply heating it up to relieve the moisture is not necessarily going to get all the moisture out. And no, you're going to go through. You might as well just replace it. Filter dryers are cheap insurance. So how do I feel about the Appion hoses for vacuum? They're great. I've had them before. I had the True Blue hoses, but the True Blue is definitely a step up from the Appion for sure. I still have the Appion hoses. They still work. If you have the Appion hoses, I don't recommend throwing them away. Just when it's time to replace them, I suggest checking out the True Blue ones. So, does the automatic pipe cutter work on small copper? No, I don't think it'll do below 1/2 inch. I think is what it is. How do I approach intermittent issue service calls where the problem with the system is not always present? You have to understand the sequence of operation, okay? And that's going to be a big picture diagnosis. So you're going to start from square one, just evaluating, pay attention to what you know, watch it go through its cycles, okay? This happens a lot on ice machines where problems can be intermittent or, you know, they don't show themselves right away. So knowing the sequence of operation, knowing how long it takes to make ice, paying attention, weighing the batch, and just watching it go through its cycles, okay? It's going to take time sometimes. You just got to let it happen. Ask lots of questions. If you're working on a walk-in cooler and you can't figure out why it's causing a problem for the customer, but every time you get there, it's working fine, you know? Start asking them questions. You know, what time does this happen? Is this going on? I'm going to tell you a funny story. So this wasn't my service call. This was one of my dad's service calls, but this one rings in my head. So he was working at we don't do their work anymore, so I can say an El Torito Mexican restaurant, right? Many years ago. And he got a service call that the dining room was too hot. Okay. Or I'm sorry, the dining room was too cold. They were freezing the customers out of the dining room. And so he goes out there, can't find anything wrong with the air conditioner. It's working fine. Goes through all the operations. Everything's good. They call him again. I kid you not. This went on like 3 or 4 times where he kept going back out there, and they're like, our dining room we're freezing the customers at nighttime. It's driving us nuts, you know? But they, you know, finally started asking questions, and he goes, wait a minute, what time is this happening? He goes, every night, you know? And he went there so many times, he was about ready to pull his hair out. And he finally said, you know what? I'm going to come back when it happens, because it happens like the same time every night. Okay. You want to know what it was that was freezing the customers out of the building? It's the silliest thing in the world. Okay. Every night they would come out with a TV tray, and they would set their coffee pot on that right underneath the air conditioning thermostat. And they would plug it in and start making coffee. It was right by the bar to serve to the customers. And the coffee pot would heat up, make the thermostat think it was hot in the building, turn on the air conditioner and freeze the customers out. But every time he would go there, everything was fine. So ask lots of questions, talk to the customer. That was one of the ones that he'll never forget. Sometimes you run into those calls where when you figure them out, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, so many hours that he didn't bill and all this different stuff. And it was something as simple as they were setting the coffee pot under the thermostat. Holy moly, you know, that's the kind of stuff. So sometimes those calls, you just got to step back and ask lots of questions and try to think in the customer's eyes. Ask the customer, what time is it happening? What, is there any funny smells? You know, that kind of stuff. All right, let's see what else we got in this chat. How hard is it to get a 138 license? I don't know what that is. Loggers are amazing for stubborn calls. Yeah, data loggers for sure. Have you ever been shocked badly? No. One leg of 120 volt. That's the most I've ever been shocked with. I mean, one leg of 240, which is just 120. Also replace filter dryers if you open the unit, for sure. Anytime you open the unit, you want to change the filter dryer, for sure. So let's see what else. They will, man, get gear reduction, door closures. What's the best brand? Caisson, for sure. All right, guys, we are going to wrap this up. We've been going way past our normal time. Thank you guys so very much for the people that donated via Super Chat and different stuff like that. Remember, you guys don't need to do that, but that was awesome of everybody. Thank you again. The person that won the beanie, make sure you send me an email. The person that won the tumbler, make sure you send Adam an email. For those that are interested, I think I said it many times already, beanies are available on the website. We have the cuffed version that I'm wearing and the non-cuffed version. Soon we're going to have these new shirts. I'll show the back of the shirt. I've shown it before, but... So that's the back of the shirt. We're going to call this the flag shirt. My favorite part is the American flag on the shoulder, and it's legit. 13 stars, 50 or 13 stripes, 50 stars. Really, really appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the outro music, and we will catch you guys on the next one.